Okay, so what if I told you there's a support service out there that breaks every single rule in the book, and yet it's achieving something that seems flat out impossible? Let's dive in.
That impossible thing? It's this number right here, 0. That's how many subscribers, according to the source material, have ever canceled their plan. I'm not kidding, not a single one.
So how is that even possible? We're talking about a service that's text-only, offers you 0 free trials, and doesn't even promise when they'll get back to you. It makes no sense, and that is the central mystery we are going to unravel today.
To get to the bottom of this, we first have to understand the problem it's solving, and more importantly, the very specific kind of person it's solving it for.
See, this service isn't for the mainstream. It was built from the ground up for a group described as the dreamers, the rebels, the outliers, folks who feel totally alienated by every traditional support system they've ever tried.
And this is where you see the core conflict. Conventional support just fails these people because it's built on stuff they reject: conformity, one-size-fits-all advice, session limits, and sugar-coated answers. What they're desperately searching for is the complete opposite: raw authenticity, unfiltered truth, and unlimited access.
We're not talking about people who are just casually looking for an alternative. No, these are people who have tried everything. They've been through the ringer with every expert and every solution out there, and they've hit a wall. For them, this is the last resort. So that begs the question, if you're one of these people, what does a real sanctuary actually look like? This question right here leads us to the first major clue in our investigation: the power of absolute total non-judgment.
Now, most people would argue that any good support system has to have some moral boundaries, right? But what we're looking at here argues the exact opposite. What's really fascinating is how the relationship is defined by what it isn't. By saying, "I'm not your parent, I'm not your God, I'm not the police," it immediately removes all those typical figures of authority. It carves out this unique space that is completely free from moral oversight. And this is the first pillar, the total removal of judgment. It's designed to create a level of honesty that is basically impossible anywhere else. It allows for truly unfiltered communication because the fear of being judged is just gone. So let's pause for a second. Does that idea of support without any judgment make you a little uncomfortable? I'm genuinely curious why, so drop a comment below. Now, this is a challenging idea for sure, but it's only the first piece of the puzzle. Our next clue seems like a huge weakness, but it's actually framed as a massive strategic advantage. Okay, this is where the design choices get really counterintuitive. They go against everything we think we know about good service, starting with the way you communicate. A text-only service? I mean, come on. Common sense says that's impersonal and cold, right? You lose all the nuance. But the research cited here reveals a really fascinating twist. So get this. Text isn't a bug. It's a feature. A very deliberate one. It gives you more control, allowing you to revisit conversations and track your own evolution. Writing actually helps organize your thoughts better than speaking. And that little layer of anonymity, it removes bias and social pressure, which encourages 100% authenticity. All right, let's talk about the biggest red flag of them all. The one that probably makes most people run for the hills. Why is there no free trial? This seems like the most defiant choice possible, but it's directly tied to a powerful principle from behavioral economics.
The philosophy is simple. Trials are a playground for doubt. Think about it. When something is free, your brain is wired to look for flaws, not value. You approach it with skepticism, not commitment.
But the moment you have to pay, you create what economists call skin in the game. That simple act completely shifts your mindset. You're no longer a passive tester, you're an active participant. This leads to way deeper engagement, you ask better questions, and you're much more likely to actually act on the advice you're given. Okay, so we've solved why all these weird features exist, but that just opens up an even bigger question. What's the glue? What is the one thing that holds this entire unconventional system together? It's time to connect the dots. And here we are, the final, and honestly, the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. It all comes down to a radical agreement between the user and the service, a pact. This is the core of it, the central agreement. The service provides the tools, the unfiltered perspective, but you, and only you, are fully responsible for the outcomes. You own it completely. This table lays it out perfectly. This is a partnership, not a rescue mission. Alex's role is to offer that raw truth and judgment-free space, but not to be a savior.
The user's role is to show up with 100% authenticity and take total ownership of their choices and actions.
And this reveals the truth. This isn't just a service you use, it's a mindset you have to adopt for it to have any effect at all. The steps are clear. First, you drop all your expectations. Second, you free your mind. And third, you own your choices.
And that's when it all clicks. You see how it all connects? The no judgment, the text-only communication, the no free trials. None of it works unless the user takes absolute radical personal responsibility. The judgment-free space requires you to be your own moral compass. The text format requires you to articulate your own thoughts. And the no trial policy requires you to commit to your own growth.
And that leaves us with the real question, doesn't it? What would you be brave enough to ask, or even become, if you knew you were the only person truly responsible for your life? Maybe that's the secret. Maybe real freedom isn't about getting the right answers from someone else, but about having a space where you're finally empowered to find them for yourself.